George Russell's new business ventures have been a central part of his story in the Gilded Age Season 3, but one detail of Episode 6 is actually drawn from a real Gilded Age event. George Russell has always been the Gilded Age's most powerful character, but Season 3 has shown him overextending himself more than ever before. In the past, George has taken business risks that have paid off, but with stiffer competition than ever before and George's turmoil with Bertha Russell, he may truly fail for the first time. The Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 6, sets the character up with a huge new enemy that could prove very troubling in the episodes ahead. George Russell's business is a roller coaster in the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 6. It seems like he may be saved, but then disaster strikes. In each season of the Gilded Age, George Russell has faced some sort of business trouble. In Season 1, this took the form of New York bankers rallying against him when he hoped to build a new train station. In Season 2, his troubles expanded even further, with steel mill workers striking for better pay and working conditions. Now, George Russell's Season 3 business problems are bigger than ever. The Gilded Age Season 3 opens with George visiting Morenci, Arizona, hoping to buy some mines to use the land above them to build a transcontinental railroad. So far, though, he has failed to bring this deal about. Likewise, George Russell has also attempted to buy the controlling shares in the Illinois Central line from the Merricks but failed to do so. As a result, by the end of the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 5, George Russell's business looks like it is headed into a steep decline. Typically, Morgan Spector always plays George Russell very placidly, even when in stressful situations, so Season 3 is the first time that audiences have really seen George look like he is panicking. To this end, the character even fired his longtime secretary, Richard Clay, and sent his son, Larry Russell, to Morenci in his place. After these seemingly desperate moves, George Russell and other businessmen, including the Merricks and Risley Sage, were called to a meeting by J.P. Morgan. Upon arrival, Morgan informed the men that they would need to come to a deal over the Illinois Central line before being allowed to leave. While this meeting ended with George Russell getting what he wanted, Mr. Clay's new alliance with Risley Sage meant that George Russell was never really in the clear. Just as quickly as things had begun looking up, the episode's ending saw George's business standing become more tenuous than ever. J.P. Morgan really did trick railroad executives into meeting in 1885. He created a similar situation in real life. Morgan Spector as George Russell in the Gilded Age image by Yida Chacon. Interestingly, a version of J.P. Morgan's meeting with railroad magnates really did occur in 1885, but there were a few key differences. Where Episode 6 sees Morgan tricking the businessmen into meeting at his rural country home and informing them they would not be allowed to leave, his real-life plan was even more isolating. In 1885, Morgan called a meeting on his yacht, the Corsair, with the heads of the New York Central Railroad and the Pennsylvania Railroad. Similar to the Gilded Age's competitive businessmen, in real life, the railroad directors refused to work together, causing trouble for everyone, via biography. Much like his decision to keep Mr. Russell and the others at his house over the Illinois Central squabble, the real J.P. Morgan reportedly refused to dock at any ports until the companies made a deal, via biography. While this may seem like quite a dramatic approach to solving the problem, Morgan was no stranger to getting what he wanted. Even more importantly, this deal, known as the Corsair Compact, was crucial to the continued functioning of other surrounding railroads. Variously owned railroads needed connections in the same cities but were blocked from doing so, meaning goods and passengers would have more trouble reaching their destinations. Morgan's deal ultimately saw the New York Central Railroad acquire the New York, West Shore, and Buffalo Railway, and the Pennsylvania Railroad gain control of the Beech Creek Railroad and South Pennsylvania Railroad, via Albert J. Chirella, WorldCat. Notably, George Russell's current predicament with Clay is a fictional, though entertaining, addition. Episode 6 meeting is the perfect example of Gilded Age economics and its pitfalls. A small group of men is holding up the entire economy. While there can always be economic instability, thanks to how rapidly America was changing during the Gilded Age, the period in particular was host to several economic crises. There was less government intervention in business practices at that time and more corruption, allowing wealthy individuals to hold strong power.